Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Madeline Vaughn. I wanted to go over what happened at my last alpha in-person meetup. So let's get started. I don't even know where to begin. I get there and there's our group who, one of them, she brought me, we're gonna call it research for lack of a better term, of one of my main characters. I'm having a difficult time trying to get into the mindset of him. And the very loose version is he's a terrible human. A predatory person who needs to be stopped, needs to be brought down, but a lot of the sinful things he does are swept under the rug by people closest to him, and he never is brought to justice. For me, is very difficult to understand because I've never been that type of human. I will never be that type of human. So she was so generous to help me, give me an inside look at some of the people that she works with on a daily basis. I know that's extremely vague. Just trust me, it was helpful, it will be helpful, and you'll understand when you read the books. Moving on from that point, the meeting didn't last as long. I mean, it wasn't short either, but it didn't last as long as the first meeting. We got some really interesting stories from the parties that were involved about their personal lives growing up. Again, a couple of them grew up in the foster care system. So hearing their struggles and their life and what world they were living in, leaving the only homes they knew, hearing that from actual person's perspective and not just trying to write what I think somebody would feel is so, I don't even have a word for it. I'm a writer, I can't think of words. It's so unbelievable. Also terribly sad hearing their stories, but also knowing that they're giving strength to Lenny. They're allowing their past to form her story, and they're okay with that. They 100% are okay with that. They're giving me that information knowing that Lenny's character will take bits and pieces, not exactly the full story, but bits and pieces of their lives and make it her life. As I mentioned before, Lenny grew up in foster care. She gets shuffled around a few different homes, even juvie at one point because there's just nowhere for her to go. She ends up in a women and children's home at one point because there's nobody else to take her in. And then she ends up in the town of Fosston, Washington, which is about an hour and 45 minutes from the town she actually grew up in, where the only family she knows is from. Her grandparents are long gone. Her parents were both only children. There isn't any other family to take care of her. You'll understand more when you read the book, if I ever finish writing them. I did make a change, and for the writers and authors out there, I have a question. Have you ever done a prologue with an intro prologue? I'm asking because in my head, I need to be able to write part of her past because there's a character I need to add in, which I did. I added in, and in my head, it makes sense to do an intro and then a prologue and then the chapters. So it's kind of like a double prologue. It spans maybe 8 pages. It isn't super long. I could just leave it as one prologue, but there's a reason why I need to break it up. And again, this will all make sense when the book's available. Anyways, so let me know in the comments if that's something that you all have done. If you've done like an intro and then a prologue or a double prologue. Anyways, let me know. I'd be excited to hear about it and chat with you about it. Get your feelings about it. Readers, have you read books like that? Did you like that? Did you like getting a more in-depth past about the character before reading the actual story so you can understand maybe why they are the way they are? That was the whole point of me writing it the way I did so far. So we talked about the new intro / prologues, and then we discussed 2 new chapters that I wrote. So I sent them the chapters in advance, and it's their discretion if they want to read them ahead of time. If they do, great. If they do, they want to call me and talk about it, then I'm happy to do that. If they don't, then that's also fine. So it worked out in a way that nobody had the time to sit down and read the 2 intro prologues and the 2 chapters ahead of time. We're all adults, we all have busy lives, 100% get it, no big deal. So what we decided was I would read these 4 sections of the book and then take their feedback as they hear it, give it, whatever. Doing that, I had not read anything I'd written to this point. I've always been kind of under the idea where I write it, leave a sentence or two to help me figure out where I need to go next when I pick up the book again. But as far as going back and editing it as I'm writing it, I've always been told that's not a great idea. So again, writers, authors, do you edit as you're writing? Do you go back and edit prior chapters, or do you wait until you're done and then go through and edit? I personally find it saves me time if I don't edit as I go, because when I do edit, I may be burnt out by the time I get to the next starting chapter point that I don't feel like writing anymore. I'm tired of looking at the words on the screen. My eyes are tired. And it was likely due to a successful editing process. So let me know, do you edit as you go, or do you write everything out and then edit later? I prefer to write everything out and try to edit later if possible. With that said, as I'm reading, I'm like, I just literally said the exact same sentence 2 paragraphs above. Okay, take that out. I highlight it as we're going through. It helps me understand and hear it out loud. Getting the feedback in real time. I don't know if I'm gonna get used to this. So I'm taking it much better than I do from one of my alphas. One of my alphas, which I'm just gonna say is my husband, which I've had authors and writers tell me, like, you have your husband alpha for you. Yeah? Well, why would you do that? Why wouldn't I do that? Well, if I did that with my husband, I'd be divorced. It always makes me laugh when I hear that. My husband is very direct and does not use kid gloves when giving me feedback. And sometimes I do wish he would. But this is what I signed up for. So he's much better about it in a group setting, though. I will say that he goes with me to these alpha meetups because he is still one of my alphas, and to hear his feedback along with the other people in the room is super helpful. There are times where I am so set on a situation or a scene or even just dialogue between a couple characters. I absolutely love it. I'm literally married to it. I don't want to let it go. And everybody else in the room can say, listen, Madeline, this isn't gonna work the way you think it's gonna work, or maybe this isn't the right spot for this, or, and they'll have a reason, and I need to hear that, so it's fine. I still keep the chapter. That's one thing I will do. I never get rid of anything I write. I keep everything. I keep all the sticky notes. I keep every thought I have either on a notepad on my phone, or on an actual notepad that I write out different ideas. I keep everything. Just, you never know what you can pull from. So again, hearing everything in real time it's always eye-opening, insightful, helpful, kind of intimidating, but it went really well. Before I close out this video, one of the ladies that I meet with picked up my original series that I wrote, the Emily Fallon trilogy, which has 1 novella that goes with it. It's a prequel, so there's technically 4 books. So she brought them for me to sign, which is still something I have to get used to. I love it though. Absolutely love it. And everybody in the group has my phone number, my personal phone number. So she was in the middle of reading the 2nd book in the trilogy. So of course we took a minute to talk about it. And what she didn't realize is the books take place in a real area. They take place in the Outer Banks, North Carolina. I know I'm joking around because we were talking about Lenny, who takes place in Boston, Washington, which is made up. It was fun talking to somebody new that had just read my books and getting their insight and their excitement from learning about Emily and Xander and everyone that's in those particular books. We took a moment to show some of the videos, some of the research, and I think that just made it that much more real for her, which is always cool. Because I think she originally thought that it wasn't a real place, some of the things I mentioned in the book. And they are. Not everything's actual or legit. The restaurants, I made up their names because I didn't want to have to pay them anything. Harris Teeter is a big enough chain, so I don't have to worry about that. But there's specific areas that, like Nags Head Preserve, that is a real trail. That is a real preserve in the Outer Banks. Anyways, so if you've read those books, feel free to comment below about those as well, because I'd love to hear what your thoughts were on it. I'm also on Goodreads and Amazon. If you'd like to leave a review there, that would be super helpful, because that is how I get my name out about my books, along with YouTube and Instagram. primarily. I hope to do a live recording session at our next meetup, which is going to be in 2 weeks. We're missing next week's meetup mainly so I can write, which I did a lot of today. I think I wrote 4 chapters today. I'm very excited about that. I love where the book's going. I had a power walk / plot session with my husband today, which I've missed doing, and I think this is going to be pretty cool. If you can get past the darkness of some of this book, I think you all will love Lenny just as much, if not more, than Emily. So more to come. If you like this content, please don't forget to hit subscribe and share the video if you wouldn't mind, because that helps get my name out and bring other people to my page. Thanks for being here.